I'm here with a tier list, because what better content to make for my first video? People are definitely going to care about some random nobody's tier list, right? Anyways, this is going to be in alphabetical order based on team names, so we're going to start with Arizona and Atlanta and finish on Washington. Make sense? Alright. Starting off with Kyler Murray, he's kind of hard to rank because he's far from being a bad quarterback, but like, you don't fear playing against him, you know what I mean? I'm going to say he's like B tier. I think that fits. Now Kirk Cousins, also a little bit hard to rank just because he's coming off a serious injury, but I'm just going to give him the benefit of the doubt and assume he's going to play at the same level he was in Minnesota, which I honestly think I'm going to put him in A tier. Lamar's another tricky one. I mean, I don't really feel like I have anything to say that a million other people haven't said. He's very good throwing the football, but not like elite. Obviously good running ball, everyone knows that. I don't know if I trust him enough to put him in S tier. It feels like kind of weird putting last year's MVP not in S tier, but I think everyone can agree it wasn't a crazy impressive MVP. Now with Josh Allen, like, you can say what you want about his turnovers, I'm still putting him in S tier. He just produces so much. So we had 29 passing touchdowns and 15 rushing touchdowns. That sounds pretty good to me. He did have 18 interceptions, but I feel like that's just inevitable. You kind of have to accept that with Josh Allen. Now Bryce Young, it would be easy to just throw him in F tier, but I don't feel like that would be fair, especially with how bad the Panthers were last year. Like, I don't really have high hopes for him, but I'm gonna put him in D tier. I'm not gonna put him in F. I'll give him another year or two before I like say he sucks. Now I'm not gonna pretend like I know anything about college football. I don't watch college football. So wherever I rank all the rookie quarterbacks is basically nothing more than a gut feeling. But I feel like Caleb Williams has everything in place to succeed. I'm pretty sure their run game's okay. Obviously they got a ton of good receivers. He's first overall pick in a good situation. I feel like he should be good. I'm not really going to rank any rookie quarterbacks very high. B is probably the highest I'll even go, because again, I don't know what I'm talking about. I feel like Joe Burrow, another easy S tier. I feel like there's not too much to say. I wouldn't be surprised if he wins Comeback Player of the Year. Now, as much as I'd love to just throw Deshaun Watson in F tier, this is an on-the-field tier list, and I feel like he's still not good. But like, I don't know. I'll put him in D tier. I'm not going to give him any benefit of the doubt. Now Jameis is another quarterback where I feel like he's not quite F tier. I feel like he's a decent backup in that he's capable of stretches of very good play. If you have him as your long-term starter, you're going to see those interceptions racking up. Now Dak is a tricky one, because if you just look at him statistically, you would think he's an easy A tier or even S tier, but he's just so awful in the playoffs, and he's not good even in the regular season in big games that really matter. He just beats up bad teams and folds like a lawn chair against good teams. I just don't feel like I can put him higher than B tier until he proves me wrong in the playoffs. I hope he proves me wrong. I don't have anything against him other than being a Dallas Cowboy, but the dude is just a choker. Like, I don't really throw that term around willy-nilly, but he's a choker. I feel like that's not a hot take. Bo Nix is a guy that I'm actually kind of excited to see how he does. But of course, this is Denver we're talking about, so they're not allowed to have a good quarterback. I'll say he's going to be C tier. That's what I think. I feel like he's not in a horrible situation. Jared Goff, I'm putting in A tier. He's just a very good quarterback. I feel like I say this about every single one of them, but Jordan Love is hard to rank, because like, we really only have half a season of good play to go off of. Outside of that, he's been pretty bad, to be honest. Like, he was not good at the first half of the year. I want to put him in A tier, but like, with a small sample size, I feel like it would be a bit much to put him as high as A tier. I'm putting him like at the top of B tier, because really I think he's a lot better than that. It's more like just a sample size thing. Trevor Lawrence, he was pretty bad at the start of the 2022 season, and then he was really good at the end of it, and everyone was like, oh, Trevor Lawrence is going to be the next big thing, and then he kind of had a slump in 2023, and what's really stopping that from happening with Jordan Love, right? I'm not saying I think that'll happen, but half a season of good play is not much to go off of. Now CJ Stroud, I feel more comfortable putting in A tier, just because he played a full season and he was good all season long, whereas Jordan Love played the full season and he was bad for half of it, and really good for the other half of it. But there's just more sample size to go off of with Stroud. I don't know where to put Anthony Richardson, because at this point he's basically, like, he might as well be a rookie. Like, we really have hardly seen him. He has good pieces around him, he has good coach, but I feel like it would be a bit too much to put him very high. I'm just going to put him in C tier. I'm not going to try and project anything crazy, although I would not be surprised if he does really good this year. I also wouldn't be surprised if he kind of flames out. Now, Joe Flacco's a backup in Indy. I feel like based off track record, I should put him in F tier just because he has not been good for a long time, and then he had what was probably a fluke stretch at the end of last year. I'll just put him in D tier because he wasn't bad at the end of last year. I feel like B tier just is very appropriate for Trevor Lawrence. That seems like the perfect spot. I just don't, he's not one of the best quarterbacks in the league like everyone thought he would be. I hope he goes and proves me wrong. I hope for the Jaguars' sake he does with that contract they gave him. Now, Patrick Mahomes isn't, I don't even need to talk about this one. Gardner Minshew is probably, I think C tier is perfect for Gardner Minshew. He's just a solid quarterback. Nothing special, but he gets the job done. And he has an awesome mustache. For a 4th round rookie, I feel like Aidan O'Connell wasn't terrible last year, but I don't think he's starting quarterback caliber. I'll put him in D tier. I feel like he'll be a good backup for a long time. I feel like Justin Herbert belongs in A tier. I feel like every year we're just like waiting for him to have that dominant season, and it just doesn't happen. He just hasn't done as much as I and a lot of people thought he would at this point. I don't know what to do with Matthew Stafford because A tier feels kind of high for him, but B tier is definitely too low. I think I'll put him in A tier, but like he's at the bottom of A tier. I don't know where to put Tua because really he's a lot like Dak Prescott, but with a smaller sample size. He's put up great stats since Mike McDaniel got there, but I just need to see him produce in big games. I mean, what big game did the Dolphins win last year? Well, actually, ironically, they beat the Cowboys. So the two big name quarterbacks I trust the least in big games, Tua and Dak, went head to head. I think I'll give Tua the benefit of the doubt. The reason I dropped, like, I feel like Dak is an A tier quarterback, but he's so bad in the playoffs and so bad in important games that single-handedly drops him down a spot. I feel like Tua doesn't have the sample size of being that bad in that many important games. So I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. I realize I've been a very generous ranker. Nobody's in F tier yet, but like, if Sam Darnold's not going in F tier, then who is? Now, Drake Maye, I don't really expect him to do much as a rookie year. I feel like if the Patriots are smart, Jacoby Brissett should get most of the playing time this year while Drake Maye sits for a while. I'm going to put him in D tier. Not because I think he'll be bad, but just because I don't expect a lot this year. Now, Jacoby Brissett, he's a lot like a Gardner Minshew. He's just like an okay quarterback. C tier fits perfectly. He's like perfectly average. I honestly feel like Derek Carr belongs there too. But maybe he's better than Gardner Minshew and Jacoby Brissett. But he's just one of those guys. Like, he puts up good stats, but I feel like at this point we just know he's not that good. Danny Derps is going in F tier. He's just not good. I don't know what else I really have to say. Drew Lock is tough. Maybe it's because I'm a Seahawks fan and he was here, so I want to be nicer to him. I do think he is better than Daniel Jones, though. I will say that. But I feel like I have to put him in F tier. But I'll put him like at the top. Now, what to do with Aaron Rodgers? We haven't even really seen him play since 2022. And now he's 2 years older and coming off a major injury. And it's the Jets, so they're doomed to never have an offense. But if Rodgers actually does stay healthy this time, I don't think he's going to be bad. I feel like B tier fits. Maybe that's too high, but it seems right to me. I'm not ready to say he's washed. I'm going to give Jalen Hurts the benefit of the doubt and put him in A tier. I feel like he is a good quarterback. Just the coaching was really bad in Philly last year. I mean, he was genuinely dominant in 2022, and I'm not ready to just discredit that because of one bad year where the coaching was bad. And it wasn't even a bad year, it was a solid year, just not close to 2022. Russell Wilson at this point of his career, I think he's C tier. I think he's a lot like Derek Carr, which seems crazy to say as a Seahawks fan. He was genuinely one of the best quarterbacks in the league when he was in Seattle. And now this is where he is. I'm not a Justin Fields believer. I'm putting him in D tier. I think I've seen enough where I doubt that he'll suddenly become a really good quarterback. Like I've said with everyone I've talked shit about, I hope he proves me wrong. And I wouldn't be surprised if he gets some playing time this year. But I just don't have high hopes for him at this point in his career. Now, Brock Purdy is always going to be controversial. But even as a Seahawks fan who hates the 49ers, I'm not one of these goobers that thinks Brock Purdy sucks because the supporting cast is carrying him. Like, you don't play as good as Brock Purdy has if you suck. Like, no talented of a team can uplift a quarterback that much. With that said, however, I'm not putting him in S tier. I feel like I need to see him do more with less before I can say that he's in S tier. S tier is for guys who genuinely lift up their team. I mean, we've seen what the 49ers look like without Brock Purdy. When they had Jimmy Garoppolo, they were still a Super Bowl contender. If you put Jimmy Garoppolo on the Bills instead of Josh Allen, do you think they would be a Super Bowl contender? I don't. It's hard to rank Geno Smith without being biased as a Seahawks fan, but I really don't care. I'm putting him in A tier. That might be a little high for some people, but I think he deserves to be there. Okay, I feel like I've said it a million times at this point, but if any quarterback is hard to rank, it is Baker Mayfield. You literally never know what this guy's gonna do any year. I'm gonna put him in B tier. I feel like Will Levis is a lot like Bryce Young. Neither of them were great, but neither of them had a great supporting cast. And I feel like both of their teams got better, so Will Levis in D tier makes sense, but because his team got better, I expect him to be better. I'm gonna give him like a low C tier. Jayden Daniels, I feel like there's a lot of things to consider. He has a defensive-minded head coach in Dan Quinn. I don't think the Commanders have a great offensive line. Oh, they definitely don't. They definitely don't. And as for weapons, they quite literally just traded away Jahan Dotson. So now who do they even have besides Terry McLaurin? I don't know if I can name another Commanders receiver. I'm going to put him in C tier. Like, I feel like he should be a good quarterback, but he doesn't really have much help. I feel like JJ McCarthy's tier down here is self-explanatory. Honestly, I think I'm going to drop Joe Flacco. That seems better. So there's my tier list. I'll make another one at the end of the year. Maybe I'll even make one at the halfway point. But yeah, I'm sure if anybody finds this video, everybody agrees with where I put everyone, and no one will take offense whatsoever. Right, guys?